What's up, Cyclone Nation? Good morning and happy game day here on the Cyclone Fanatic social media pages. And of course, you are checking us out on cyclonefanatic.com. It is the Cyclone Fanatic Game Day Show. My name is Chris Williams. We're going to run through everything that's coming up tonight, Iowa State and Oklahoma. I've got some things that I really want to keep an eye on tonight for the not only the Cyclones but really the entire Big 12 conference. As I think Iowa State is a contender. I really do. I think they're a contender to compete in this conference this year. But I think we're going to find out a lot tonight. Now, before I get into that game, just want to do a shout out to our friends at the Iowa Pork Producers. And we're doing, as you can see up on the screen right now, Amy and Ben Plank won the first tailgate challenge of the year. You can see they win all sorts of cool prizes from Cyclone Fanatic and Iowa Pork and Fairway and all of our great sponsors. And they're in the running to win a Traeger grill at the end of the season. So you guys can get in on that action if you're not going to be at Jack Trice Stadium tonight. And you can go ahead and enter. We're going to have the forms that you can fill out. Super easy. All over the Cyclone Fanatic pages. So check that out. Also want to thank our presenting sponsor of the Game Day Show. That is our friends at the Iowa Clinic and the Iowa Clinic Men's Center. Don't forget, it's more important to get a flu shot this year than ever. Say it with me. Get your flu shots. Check them out at the Iowa Clinic. I go to the one in Ankeny. Of course, there's the big center in West Des Moines. All right, let's talk some football. Clones and Oklahoma tonight, but I want to start elsewhere in the Big 12 Conference. There's 5 things I'm looking for today in college football. Really going to keep an eye on TCU and Texas, also Baylor and West Virginia. Again, I think Iowa State is going to be in a position where it can compete for a spot in the Big 12 championship game. I truly believe that. We start to watch what's going on around Iowa State in college football. TCU and Texas, we'll start right there. Texas is a super confusing football team right now. What was last week? Was last week a fluke? Did they just not play well? Are they a team of destiny? Or are they the same old Texas? I think they're the same old Texas, but we'll see. I think TCU was one of the most surprising teams in the Big 12 last week in the opening week of the conference play. TCU was better than I thought they would be. Max Duggan is carving his way to becoming one of those elite quarterbacks, I think, in this conference. They have a better defense than most of the teams in the league. TCU was really impressive to me in their first game of the season last week. Even though Iowa State won that game, I came away impressed with the Horned Frogs. That'll be a really good one. TCU's like a 12-point underdog in that one. I don't know. Keep an eye on it. Baylor at West Virginia today. That's like an 11 o'clock kick. Listen, mainly, I'm still feeling out both of these teams. West Virginia played okay last week down there in Stillwater. Baylor was really good against Kansas, but it's Kansas. I think Kansas is terrible, obviously. We still need to learn a lot more about Dave Aranda's Baylor Bears before I can be sold. They have to replace so many guys on defense. I know they're going to be good offensively, but this is a good feeling out game. Both of these games going to tell us a little bit about positioning in the Big 12. I think we could probably throw Texas Tech and Kansas State on that list too, but we only have so much time. Let's move on to the varsity game, the game of the week. ABC, 6:30, Jack Trice Stadium. Special teams is the first thing I'm going to be looking for between the Cyclones and the Oklahoma Sooners. Mainly, just don't screw it up. This is a spot where Iowa State can be just solid. I'm going to tell you how Iowa State has to win the game here later on. Don't screw up special teams. That's where you don't lose it. And that means you can't miss point afters. You can't, give up the big plays on special teams because you're going to have your hands full with an Oklahoma offense anyways. Don't screw it up on special teams. It's that simple. All right. Iowa State's pass rush is going to be a key to this football game. I think that you can throw the tight ends in there with the healthy Charlie Kohler. If you were to say, hey, Chris, what's the best position group on the Iowa State football roster, top to bottom? I think it's the defensive line. Absolute freak show, Iowa State's defensive line. And I think they're going to get after the freshman quarterback, Spencer Rattler, and they're going to have to. They're absolutely going to have to make that young man feel uncomfortable. And if they do, I think that will turn into number two. That is turnovers, turning the football over. Of course, Iowa State can't. It can't be a situation where you're doing dumb stuff. Hopefully, Brock Purdy got that out of the way last week with that bad play. But this is turnovers across the board, and the pass rush working with the turnovers, 3 and 2, kind of blend together here, in my opinion, because you've got to make the freshman quarterback from Oklahoma, again, as I said, as uncomfortable as possible. And if so, you're going to make life easier on the back end of your secondary that started to struggle. They really did struggle there in the second half at TCU last week, where Max Duggan started throwing the football all over the place against the Cyclone. So early and often, hit him. Hit Spencer Rattler early and often. If Iowa State can do that, I really like their chances. I really like Iowa State's chances to outright win this football game as a 7.5-point underdog. But you got to start with your dudes, and that is up front on the defensive side of the football. Get after the quarterback, limit the run game. That's all football 101. Oh, speaking of the run game, this is it for me tonight, because you're going to have to score points against the Oklahoma Sooners. No matter what, no matter how good the defense plays, Oklahoma will get theirs. So what can you do to, counteract that? And we saw glimpses of a great running game last weekend at TCU. I think Breece Hall's an elite back. I think at this point in his career, he's better than David Montgomery does, who's now a star for the Chicago Bears in the National Football League. And the biggest thing I like is that Iowa State's offensive line seems like it's getting some pieces together, and we haven't even seen it healthy yet. Got to get Trevor Downing back. We'll keep an eye on that. But Kene Nwangwu, we saw him break out. I saw him on the screen there. Breece Hall, not every play, guys, has to pop for 75 yards like we saw last week, but it sure does help, because then it stretches things out for Brock Purdy and the more inexperienced wide receivers that Iowa State will bring to the table. However, Purdy's pretty good about taking shots when you can, and that's what it's going to have to be. Sustain some drives with the run game. Keep Oklahoma's offense off of the field, and if Iowa State can establish that run and move the football on the ground against the Oklahoma Sooners, really negate the chances to turn the football over, lengthen this game out a little bit, man, I love it. I honestly, guys, it's just me and you talking, right? I think Iowa State's going to win tonight. I really do. I like Iowa State's chances in this football game. And it's not me being a Homer Cyclone fan. This is me, amateur football analyst here, who's watched that Oklahoma-Kansas State game a couple of times now. I think Iowa State's defensive line gets after it. I think that Breece Hall is able to move the football. I think that Brock Purdy took a huge step from game 1 to game 2 to get back to Brock Purdy form. Don't be surprised if Brock Purdy's running a little bit out there a little bit tonight too. I think Iowa State takes another step tonight, and my prediction is that the Cyclones are 2-0 in the Big 12 Conference with huge wins at TCU and over a really good football team, the Oklahoma Sooners. That's my prediction for tonight. God, I hope I'm right. I'm not being a homer, I'm telling you. You can call me a homer all you want. It doesn't offend me. It really doesn't. I think Iowa State right now, at this point of the season, I'd rather play Spencer Rattler in Oklahoma on October 3rd than I would November 3rd. This sets up well. Oklahoma's looking ahead to next week with the Red River Shootout. Clones tonight. Let's go 38-35. Iowa State beats Oklahoma tonight. I hope you guys agree. I hope you guys have a hell of a time watching the football game. And thank you for joining us. Brett Meyer and I will be back at halftime right here on all the Cyclone Fanatic platforms. We will have our halftime report after the game, 2 hours after the game is over. You can join Jared Stansberry and Rob Gray for the Cyclone Fanatic post-game show with their analysis and reaction, injury updates, all that stuff. We're here for you guys on game day. Go pop open a bottle of that Cody Road bourbon, baby, and let's get after it on a big-time Saturday for college football, not only in the Big 12, but in Ames, Iowa. I'm Chris Williams for the Iowa Clinic here on the Game Day Show at CycloneFanatic.com. Have a fantastic Saturday, Cyclone Nation.